Welcome to Initial Run. Here I show you my initial run and first impressions of a game that I otherwise wouldn't really consider playing. Today we have Croc, Legend of the Gobbos. It's quite simple, charming and fun. I'll tell you my thoughts first, and then the gameplay will back me up. Croc was released in September of 1997. I ran this game for about 30 minutes, and here's a short of it. Croc is a very fine game. It came out about a year after most of the early 3D platformers, and it ended up learning from all of them, while still being relatively distinct and unique. Croc's game design isn't on a rail like Crash, open like Jumping Flash, or collectathon like Mario 64. Instead, it's a linear-ish experience where each room serves as a sort of mini puzzle. There are these orbs to collect, 100 of them is a life. You have to rescue these Gobbo guys as well, and there's 5 of them that you can find normally in each level, but if you collect 5 special orbs where each one of them is a special color, you can find a secret 6 Gobbo in a special part of the level. You have to collect all of the Gobbos if you want to get to the true ending. The game's graphics are quite nice. While the environments in the game are relatively limited, you've gotta admit, for what it is, it does look really nice. The music is also quite decent, and some of the sound effects are as well, though some of the other ones do sound a bit generic. The controls are a bit of a problematic part, though. You see, while this game does have analog stick support, there's still tank controls for some reason. And pulling back on an analog stick makes you turn weirdly instead of just reversing, though you can still strafe with R1 and L1, and also when you jump, you have both decent mid-air control and you can now strafe with the stick, making Croc actually quite controllable in the air. The environments themselves are, well, nice and detailed, just not as varied as I and most other people would really want them to be. This game is definitely derivative of the games that came out before it. You lose orbs when you get hit like in Sonic, the controls feel a bit like they're from Tomb Raider and such, but these critiques are really missing the forest for the trees, because even if a lot of these ideas are derivative, the end result is still pretty distinct from all of the other games that Croc pulls its ideas from. It's not the best 3D platformer on the PlayStation, definitely, but it's also definitely up there in terms of quality. Because of that, I give it a score of charming and fun. You know, this game was made by the same guys who, made Buck Bumble? Let's see if this one's better. Let's just start the game. I've played, like, a level of this one, because I needed footage for a video. I think I actually played halfway through the second level, but I want to do it voiced over, I want to actually give my opinions, so here we are. So what do I think about this game? Don't remember, played it a long time ago. I know it's a very different platformer from... Busted. From a lot of the other ones. How do I explain what how would you explain what Croc is to a non-Croc player? It simultaneously pulls from a lot of other... How do I... Yeah, look at that. Okay. It simultaneously pulls from a lot of other 3D platformers, but in a way where nothing it pulls is ever really, you know... By the way, this has controller support, but it's still... It's similar to Jumping Flash, honestly. You sort of have tank controls on the ground, but, when you're in the air, you no longer have tank controls. The health works like in Sonic. There's a little shadow that's always underneath you, though this game makes the cardinal sin of not making the shadow obvious enough. Now, I don't want to act like I'm some big brain, you know, elite gaming journalist, so yeah, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, but I do wish that, You know, I'm not really that used to. I have a feeling that the tank controls will be kind of difficult to get used to. But yeah, I'm not really like a journo type of guy. So take what I say with several grains of salt. I mean, the thing is, right, gaming journalists and you, the player, but both give your opinions on a game. It's just that, well, their opinion's worth more because they have higher standards. And not just higher standards of what makes a good game, mind you, but just higher standards for their opinions. You know? Like, especially if it's when it's your job. If you're a reviewer, you kind of have standards to uphold. You can't just be like, yeah, this game sucks, cause, when I... That's the end of the level. Well, I didn't get everything yet. Can I redo the level, please? There was one more thing I need to get. Whatever. But yeah, like, the thing is, when you're a normal person, you may be like, well, when I got this kid's game, my parents got divorced. That's why Croc can suck my balls. Meanwhile, a professional reviewer can't really say that. A professional reviewer should also not lie or make shit up. And I'm not a professional reviewer, but yeah. The thing is, though, similarly to reviewers, normal people, reviewers still do give their opinions. And the way, and this is like an IGN issue, ooh, cool. This is like the IGN issue. Sometimes you'll have the situation where, because of the way, like, especially how it used to be run, where different reviewers would sometimes, like, review different, you know, reviewer A would write the script and reviewer B would voice act. So you would run into this little issue where sometimes a reviewer who may not like a specific game would say that, oh yeah, this is truly a return to form for this long favorite series or whatever. I don't know, you know the clip. Sonic was never good, blah blah blah. The issue is, of course... Oh my god, this game actually has this is... Okay. This is more advanced than, like, Spyro. Okay. Okay, game. Anyways, yeah, like... How do I explain this? Oh yeah, so... Come on. An issue we run into is specifically, and this is specifically like a reviewer issue, I guess. I'm not commenting much in the game because there's not really that much to comment about. But to finish the topic, the reason why reviewers have different standards is just because there's a sort of, you know, a reviewer should give something a fair shot. Otherwise, they shouldn't review it. They shouldn't review an RPG if they hate RPGs, you know? But yeah. Compared to us. Well, I'll review whatever I want. I mean, this isn't a review even. These are my first impressions. Can I? Ooh, I can. Anyways, I thought I can double jump because I was playing a game that I could double jump in earlier. Whatever, ignore my stupidity. Anyways, what I was gonna say is, okay. So, this game looks pretty nice. It's charming. I think the music's really cute. I think the levels are really sort of, okay, so the way... Don't quote me on this, but from my understanding, I think the developers went about dealing with the disc format wasn't by dynamically streaming levels in, but by making the levels just kind of small. And what you can do, by doing that, is you can unload one level and load in another level relatively quickly, I believe. Yeah. Plus you can fill them with quite a bit of geometry. So that allows you to have a pretty high amount of detail here. Like, compare this to something like Mario 64. Ooh. And while there's definitely, ooh, we got a key of some kind. While there's definitely a lot less... Hey, we got sixth one. Ooh, another life. While there's definitely a lot of... the levels are a lot smaller. You can definitely see how, they're still kind of fine. The levels are probably gonna get larger, that may also... Yeah, let's also save the game. How do we do this? Okay, we have one. Yeah, that's when I got to level 1 too. Let's see how far we can get here. Yeah. One funny thing is, I have seen one of my friends talked about, I guess I didn't make it clear enough, but, yeah, I recorded the initial run part in the beginning before the game. Sorry, no. Even though the initial run stuff is before the gameplay in the beginning, shockingly, the only way I could know so much about a game, like how it feels and controls, is by playing it. So obviously, I make the gameplay section first, and then I voice act, then I write a short script for the beginning of the video, and then I voice act it, and then I put in footage from the very same video that you're gonna watch. Oh my god. Demon. Okay, we'll go up this hole. Okay. But yeah. Oh, it's back. Yeah. Put on the list of the things I feel about Croc. I don't like the respawning enemies. Okay. Oh my god. So, I just kind of fell down. Because I couldn't kill the enemy. Come on. Okay. Ooh, there's one of those weirdos. Fuck off. Okay, we're going back up. We're not in the same place. Where do you take me? Down here. You need the key. I'll find it, buddy. Don't you worry. Yeah, the respawning enemies do leave a lot to be desired. One interesting thing is there was very recently a stream where they had the guy who, made Croc. I guess, the main Argonaut dev guy. And, he was like, oh yeah, well, the issue is with the Sega, they were talking about the Sega Saturn, and he mentioned how, oh yeah, it's actually way more powerful than the original PlayStation. The issue was, and the part that he's gonna say here is kind of true, but I will go in depth here. Maybe I'll make a real video, but like what he said was like, oh yeah, the truth is the Sega Saturn was more powerful, but the issue was a lot of the time that not only was it more complicated, but also very often it wasn't about making a Saturn game as much as it was making, a PlayStation game fit on the Saturn. So, yeah, obviously in comparison, they wouldn't do the best job porting it because the team had the PlayStation game to work with. It wasn't built from the ground up. And that's sort of true. Okay, so the Saturn... Okay, no. Well, the Saturn is very weird when you talk about, you know, 3D graphics with the way it does it. What you have to consider is that with current homebrew tools, we can get it to push out about, I think, on a realistic scenario, 2,000 quadrilaterals per second, like 3D ones, before it implodes. Maybe, if you're lucky, a little bit more, but yeah. Realistically, if you're doing a more complex game, 1,500 to 2,000, which is actually sort of similar to like most PlayStation games. They only really clock in, yeah, like under like one, you know, that per frame. We're assuming a 30 FPS game, by the way. Yeah, the issue is, yeah, there's fill rate and stuff, but there's a lot of cheap tricks you can do on both systems to sort of get a bit more fill rate. This actually saves really quick. But yeah, what do we have next? Shout and lava, lava, lava. Okay. Ooh, okay, let's see. The issue is, of course, you know, I mean, you can see with games like Panzer Dragoon Saga, holy shit, yeah, the system have had a bunch of games which looked really nice. But by the time developers started figuring out, you know, the Sega Saturn, it was dead. I guess same with the N64, sort of. It's just that, you know, Sega didn't want to stay with the system, so they abandoned it. Meanwhile, Nintendo, you know, often stuck to their guns. I guess the only time they gave up on a system was on the, when they gave up on the, like, you know, Virtual Boy, obviously, but also Wii U, but still. The issue was that Sega basically killed the Saturn themselves. Oh, that's bullshit. Can't keep track of that. It's gonna be the middle one. No, it's not. Can't keep track of that. I guess you have to keep track of how many times you hear it move. Whatever. But yeah, like... realistically, Sega killed it. It wasn't the fault of, like, any particular guy in Sega. It was basically the fault of all of them, you know? Oh my god. It's difficult to find a single person to blame when so much went so wrong because of most of them, you know? It's like... we have the guy who made the bad thing happen, the guy who made the other bad thing happen, etc, etc, etc. But, like, realistically, man, they got the first few levels of Unreal working on it. Obviously not in the Unreal Engine, but still. Yeah, also what's interesting is nobody on the Saturn really makes a game, really has, I think, made a game big enough to properly utilize the little expansion pack it had. Because if you don't know, the Saturn had, you know, 2 megabytes of RAM, then 1 megabyte of VRAM, sorry, 1.5 megabytes of VRAM split into 3 banks for, like, fuck, GPU 1, GPU 2, and frame buffer. But then, what people forget is that there was, you know, oh yeah, also like 0.5 megabyte of audio RAM, but then people forget there was an expansion cartridge. There existed a 1 megabyte but most of these cartridges were just used for, like, 2D games to store sprites and stuff, because the transfer speeds were only like 50 megabytes per second. But yeah, like, what you ran into was a situation where if games really wanted to go big on the Saturn and load big worlds at once, I mean... Hey, well... Oh my god. You technically could have, because you had a full megabyte count. You could actually go up even higher, I'm pretty sure. I read that, but... Where do you take me? That's bullshit. But obviously, yeah, those counts don't exist. Maybe you can make custom ones, I don't know. But yeah, also you could technically use an expansion chip for a lot of stuff. They were actually making one at one point before they just gave up. Because so like the N64 cartridge just had the basic sort of pins, right? For the cartridge, but oh no, the Saturn cartridge had a ton of pins with like interrupts and stuff. And it also had full access to the... It had full access to the, video out. It wasn't the video out, but it had full access to the video signal, I'm pretty sure. So, theories exist that, Sega was working... Oh, I mean, they mentioned some kind of expansion, but they didn't mention if it was a second VDP1, if it was something else, if it was, like... I would assume it may have been like a CPU and like, you know, just like a single fat chip, which had like, you know, or maybe not a single fat chip, but like, you know, something which had the CPU and GPU and some of its own RAM. And then that'd be sent down. Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. But even from what existed... I mean, realistically, the PlayStation, it's kind of surprising it performed as well as it did. I guess it just shows you that hardware power doesn't matter, something which people only mention when it's, you know... Oh yeah, I have to hit it again. People only mention hardware power when their system is faster, and mention that specs don't matter when their system is slower. That's something which you just kind of have to live with. People will mention how, oh yeah, you know the N64, that was the best system ever made. Can I go? No, I have to use the key. I don't know where it is. Oh, I see where it is. You know, people will just say, oh yeah, the N64 was so much more powerful. That totally means it was faster. And then it's like, oh yeah, the Wii? Well, it was the best selling. And then with the Switch, you know, oh, it was the best selling. Like with the GameCube, oh, but it had the best, you know, people will just say why their system is better. Instead of just saying, I just like my system more. No, no, no. They need a reason. I can't... Oh my god. The fuck is this? This is what caffeine does to your brain when you try to stay awake, by the way. You know, counting sheep? No, it kills the sheep. Got 2 lives. Nothing behind the goal. There we go. Level complete. Didn't get all the bastards, though. B1. I assume that means boss 1. Ooh, so we're fighting the boss, then. It's gonna be one of the many games which gets the coveted. This is fun, but like it's fine. The thing with Initial Run is though, oh god, what is that thing? I don't wanna, cause the issue with Initial Run is, I don't want to make an Initial Run video in something like Gran Turismo, because I already have my opinions on it, you know? I've already extensively played GT games, I know I like it. So I have to pick stuff that I know I won't automatically hate, like, you know, Superman 64, you know, there's no reason to make an initial run on that. But also, I can't make an initial run game on something which I automatically, you know I'll like. Because there's no point. I'm gonna make a video that's gonna be like, hey guys, welcome to my initial run of fucking, you know, GT2 Ocarina of Final Fantasy VII. You know, what's the point when I can make it initial run on something like Croc, where yeah. So I guess Croc is gonna be, out of all the games that I've played so far, the most well-known one. And I only wanted to do it because I was actually curious about it. It's also one of those things, right? There are tons of games that I would by myself never play. And then I'm like, you know, I'll check them out for initial run, and that's why I'm playing him. That's basically the entire idea. Oh god. Give me, okay. Punted him. Hey. How many times do I have to hit you? Oh my god. Honestly, I wish... Okay, I win. I wish they let you just have, like, an overhead camera option. But yeah, we stopped him. Aw, yeah, he turns back into a little ducky. We've been abducted! Oh, there's more to this. Okay. So overall, yeah, what is there to say? I mean, this is basically the first level, first world or whatever. Here's the thing, right? Controls are a little bit iffy. Other options. Let's see, can I change the controls somehow? Ooh, control setup. Huh. Left stick moves Croc, right stick moves camera. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. I mean, here's the thing, right? The game's fun. Controls are a little iffy. Thankfully, they're making a remake for some reason. Yay for the 7 Croc fans, but like, granted, this game did sell better than Banjo Kazooie, so it does make sense. It does make sense. No Banjo Kazooie remake though. Some people are jealous. I'm not. I'm jealous they murdered Crash Bandicoot recently with an AI game. Why Activision? Hey, okay, about Croc. Graphics are really cute and charming. The music is really a lot of the things are charming, though the controls are a bit hard to get used to. And I don't really like the control. Like the controls kind of make it a little bit frustrating. And the respawning enemies and the sort of linearity of levels just kind of makes it a little bit... It's just kind of a little bit frustrating. But it is a good game. I do think it's genuinely pretty fun. Bye-bye.